Together unscripted, baby, that's our way. In a life that's messy, we love and laugh each day.
Hey, I'm Jen. This is my husband Danny, and welcome to another episode of Together Unscripted, Love, Laughs, and Leftovers. Today we're going to chat a little about divide and conquer, how we got through, all the years of the 4 kids and their different activities and sports and schools and work, our own activities and things. So,
yeah, we had lots of families asked us, and it was like, oh my God, how do you guys do it? And it wasn't a how, it was we just did it. Thank God that my lovely wife had a calendar, and she was so organized. So quite honestly, all 6 of us, we all had a different color on the calendar. We knew what our activities were, work schedules, doctor's appointments, things like that. So we knew the day before what was happening, so we weren't in a constant panic, because we would have been. And that's not to say that everything was perfect. There were days where it's like, okay, these 2 have to go to the hockey rink, and lo and behold, I drive to the wrong damn hockey rink and realize I'm in the wrong place, and I got to haul ass to the next guy.
Thankfully the rinks weren't
too far apart. But the divide and conquer is exactly how we handled it. Was, all right, I got this piece, you got that piece, we're good to go. Mm-hmm. We always made sure that the kids saw that we were a team, that one wasn't telling the other one what to do or giving each other a hard time. It was always an agreement. It was always, hey, let's do this together. I'm going to go here, you're going to go there. Many Saturday mornings, we realized that we had 3 boys with 3 hockey games in 3 parts of the state, while our daughter had something else going on. So it was all right, I'll take this one to the northeast corner of the state, you take this one to the southeast corner of the state, and then we'd send the third with a grandparent, or we leaned on other families a lot because we had kids that overlapped.
Yeah, we made sure we made connections with other families, and thankfully too, we had a lot of overlaps, different parents, with siblings on the same team. So that was a huge help. But don't be afraid to ask for help. We can't do it all ever. So really making sure, one, definitely communicate with each other. That's first and foremost. But asking for help, reaching out to friends or other family members to see if they can help. I mean, you want to try to be at every event, but especially with 4 kids, it just wasn't possible.
Right.
So yeah, you took one kid to one rink, I took another, and we made sure we swapped the next weekends. We weren't always catching the same kids' activities or games or whatnot. But yeah, making connections with other families. I mean, one, it's helpful, but another thing is, you create great friendships too, and I don't know, I think it helps.
Yeah,
keep your sanity.
Some of those families that helped are still some of our best friends to this day, and our kids still talk to their kids and hang out. And I mean, our kids are all college age and above, and they're still chatting with each other, going to golf together. Yeah, it's really weird when your 22-year-old tells you that he went to hang out with his friend that he's known since he was 9, and they went to the bar to catch football and have a few beers together. Mm-hmm. Weirdest thing in the world, but like I said, hockey and having those family friendships was key. But even when I was at home, there were times people would be over, and they thought that having 4 kids was psychotic. But the reality is our 4 kids kept each other occupied. That was really, really nice, is that we'd go and these 2 would be playing Legos over here, and these 2 would be playing school, and then an hour later we go check, and then all 4 of them are playing a game together, and then an hour later we check, and then there's different pairs doing different activities. But there were times, we'd be sitting at our dining room table with friends over, and our chandelier would be shaking because the boys' bedroom was directly above the dining room, and they'd be playing knee hockey and tearing things apart. And people were freaking out, like, how do you deal with this? You get used to it. Like, you have 4 kids. Noise is going to be something. Banging around is going to be something.
The chaos is a part of it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And honestly, we miss it now. You don't think you're going to miss it, and you think it's really, really hectic in the moment, but trust us, you were going to miss it. But yeah, I mean, so divide and conquer. Communication, I think, is, again, a key point. And visual, having the calendar was a huge help, I think, for everyone.
Because even the kids knew what was going on. So
Exactly.
they weren't guessing either, so they knew who was taking each other where.
Yep.
So they didn't panic if they thought they were 10 minutes late because they knew they were covered.
Right. No, definitely the communication, making sure that everybody knew the color codes was funny.
But the calendar did get us into trouble one time because Miss Thing over here decided to put Jennifer ultrasound on the calendar, and the 4
gosh,
kids
that
thought we were pregnant. Apparently, we hadn't told them that we were both. It wasn't happening, so they went through all the emotions of possibly having a younger sibling, from kind of being excited about it to hating us for it to what the are you guys doing, like you're too old for this. And they were between 8 and 12 years old, somewhere in there.
I think something.
But they went from happy to bitter to annoyed, all before asking, "Are you guys pregnant?" If we would have told them immediately, we weren't trying to be skeptic about it, but the calendar kind of got us into trouble on that one.
That was funny. Yeah.
Appointment would have been better instead
Yeah.
of ultrasound, but
Well, I put ultrasound because I had to remember not to eat or drink or
little
whatnot.
kids know what that means.
That was funny. Yeah. No. Kidney stones are no joke. Let me tell you. But
She was passing something. It wasn't a baby.
But no, I mean the calendar was helpful. It was, the kids knew what was going on. They knew if we had something going on, everything went on that calendar, and too, including meals. Especially too as a health coach, I try to encourage my clients to meal prep, or at least plan. Don't wing it. So we had meals. If I could meal prep on a Sunday, which normally didn't happen during hockey season, but we knew what was on the menu for meals for the week, and two, we pulled the kids in. We would always every week, each of the 4 kids got to pick a meal, and then we'd fill in a couple. Mm-hmm. Fridays was usually pizza, just because it was easy.
And we didn't want to cook anymore.
Yeah. Typically, you're kind of spent by Friday, but no, the meals, like, ask the kids, like, all right, what do you want? What's your choice for dinner next week? And it was a lot of fun. So each of the kids had their say into what was going, and it was kind of funny too as they got older.
The meals got a little more complex. Their palates adapted. It wasn't franks and beans and mashed potatoes anymore.
I think I saw a memory pop up the other day from Aiden, and I was just like, I want to say he was like, I think the memory was like he was 10. And I was like, what do you want for dinner? And it was shrimp scampi, or maybe it wasn't meatloaf. But all of his suggestions were like not fancy. Something you would expect from a 10-year-old. It wasn't, it wasn't chicken fingers, it wasn't burgers, it was all like, okay, but too, as they got older.
Restaurant quality food is what that kid wanted.
They would say, like, we've got a menu to choose from. Like, I don't know, like, we have so many different options to pick from. And we didn't make something new every night, every week. It was a lot of the same things over and over, but, the kids had to say, so they knew, they had, they couldn't complain and say, right. I don't eat that.
But when we did have them try something new, there was no getting out of it. It's like, that's what's for dinner.
Yep.
There's other options. You can make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but you have to try it first.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, they'd try it, and they'd love it, and they'd keep eating it, and their palates expanded. So at one point when my daughter was 15, 16, she says, Dad, listen, not all meals need to be mwah. Apparently we had gotten too good at it. We learned a lot about cooking and meal prepping and flavor profiles and such, and that's one of our things that we enjoy doing most together. But my daughter, she said, quite honestly, Dad, sometimes we just want kid crap food. Sometimes we want fish sticks and french fries. And it was just, good God. But now this is the one that when she calls us while we're making dinner, you could hear her drooling on the other side of the phone. She's like, oh, that sounds so fire. I wish I was there right now, blah, blah, blah. So when she came to visit a month or so ago, we actually made her one of her favorite meals. She loves enchiladas. That's what we made her. She was so happy. We sent her home with all the leftovers. She was happy as a pig in slop. So it was pretty cute.
And we made enchiladas and things later that week too because
we were so pissed we didn't have leftovers. So yeah, we ended up making it like 3 days later. So,
but yeah, the meal planning was just a huge part of the divide and conquer. You know, the communicate, the planning, You can't just wing it. You've got to have some factor of planning in there.
Yeah,
and
I'm a
Yeah.
drive home from work, hit the grocery store, decide what you're making, and then go home and cook. Which, when you have 4 kids and crazy schedules, you can't do it.
No, you can't. Yeah, it's the planning, it's the asking for help, making connections with other people, and communicating.
I mean, the kids got into the routine too, so they kind of figured it out.
True.
But they would panic if I was making dinner and she wasn't home, or if she was making breakfast and I wasn't home. Be like, Mom, what are you doing? Why are you making breakfast? Like, because I think I missed a calling as a short order cook, so the kids would wake up getting ready for school, which is we'll get into school drop-offs in a second.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But everybody got what they wanted for breakfast. It wasn't just, here's 4 bowls of cereal. Like, I wanted to make sure they had protein in their system so they weren't hungry and they didn't have that crash an hour and a half later, so they'd make it through to lunchtime. But everybody got eggs and sausage, or scrambled this, or sometimes they just wanted, scrambled egg on a bagel.
I was gonna say, they got
their specialty sandwich was a bagel with a hash brown with an egg and cheese on it, and it ended up being that fat, and then they wouldn't be hungry all day. They ate that almost all the way through high school. So they did pretty well for little kids. It wasn't a rush. Here's a Pop-Tart. When we started to learn about reading labels and everything else, Pop-Tarts were like the first thing to go, because you realized
it's just
like
chemical.
it's a bread grain product, and it sits on a shelf. It's not refrigerated. It's not preserved in any way other than the chemicals in it. And when we learned what the 45 stinking chemicals in it were, we just said, no, we're done with this. So that's one of the reasons we started cooking a lot. We didn't do fast food. If it came out of a box, out of a can, or out of a little window, and a dude with a funny hat, we weren't eating it. We weren't making our kids eat it. To the point now our kids don't hardly ever do fast food. They think it's disgusting.
Yeah.
They eat really well. They're very healthy. Thank God for that. But if they saw me cooking dinner, I'd be like, relax. It's a casserole. Mom made it this afternoon.
I'm
It's
just
okay.
heating it up.
All I did was turn the oven on, and you could see them quite literally go, the deep breath and the sigh and the thank God, because they were terrified of what the heck I was going to put on the plate.
But you got really good at cooking dinner though.
I've mastered a few things.
But school drop-offs. 4 kids. In our hometown, we had...
And they're all 1 year apart. So when we had a 2nd grader, we had a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader. When we had, our youngest was a 5th grader, we had a 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grader.
So, and a lot of times there were either 2 schools, 3 schools. I think there might have been a year where they were all in different schools.
When they split K through 5 into K through 2 and 3 to 5.
That just made it even worse.
It was obnoxious.
And even when they were little, oh my gosh, because 2 were in afternoon pre-K, 1 was in morning kindergarten, and then 1 was in full day school. So I spent my days in the van.
In the minivan.
In the minivan.
I
lived in that minivan.
I was so happy to get rid of it.
And a part of another part of the divide and conquer was lists. I don't know. I'm a list maker. There's just something in that satisfaction of crossing something off a list. But I would make a list of what I had to do that day. If I had to run errands, if I had appointments, if I had to see a client, anything like that. And the kids would kind of get a little butthurt when they were on the to-do list to either pick them up or drop them off. Because I would write my list.
The youngest, what, if you don't write us down, you're going to forget about us? It's like,
no, it's just
not
a
really,
specific
maybe.
Order.
Yeah.
I would write my list of things to do and where to go in the order that I needed to get them done in, and then just made sure I slipped them into their slots throughout the day. And I'd take that to the dashboard. Just so it's a visual, it's in front of you.
But we also had, with the school drop-offs and pickups and drop-offs, we had like little things for each kid. Like the oldest, because he was the first to get picked up because his school ended first, a couple times a week, she'd take him through Sonic for a 99-cent.
The slushie.
The slushie. And that was their thing. When my daughter was in half-day kindergarten and everybody else was still in school, she'd take her to a diner, and they'd have like a late breakfast and early lunch together. My daughter always got one scrambled egg and peanut butter toast, and that was her specialty. She loved it. So that, like, she became known for it at the diner. So every, I dropped my daughter off or my son, the two of them off, and they knew I was going to embarrass them. I'm going to open the windows, going to blast the music. There was certain songs that my daughter hated, and I always made sure they were queuing up right as we pulled into the driveway just to tease her. And she eventually thought it was funny. There were days that she would pick the song, and we'd come down the driveway and we'd be dancing, and people just staring at us. We did it on purpose, just to be goofy. So, I mean, there was little things, because if all you're thinking of is your to-do list, which it's great to have a to-do list, but
right.
if all the things with the kids are a to-do and you don't get any connection or special things with them, any of those stupid memories that they're going to remember when they're older, like, oh, Dad, you remember when I was little and we would dance to this song coming down? It's those silly little things that I think broke up the monotony of it, because it got to be a lot, especially when, all right, this one's at a private high school that he has to take the bus because it's out of town, and then this one's at the other school on the other side of town, and then, oh crap, these two are in middle school, they're at a different time. And it wasn't possible for one person to do all four, so we had to figure that out. It got really bad, really bad for her, because I was hurt for a couple of years. I wasn't walking. I was on crutches. My hip was so bad I couldn't press down the accelerator. I couldn't go up and down stairs because my hip couldn't hold me. I would just fall down. Like, I ate shit a lot. So she'd leave for the day, and I'd have to promise which floor I was going to stay on. I wasn't allowed to use the stairs, and it made sense because I'd fallen a couple of times, almost knocked myself out a couple of times. And then, a couple of years later, got hip surgery and healed up, and great. The whole injury stuff and how we dealt with it, that's for a different day. But it got real hard for her because
and then
she was the only one driving.
And that's where a lot of the connections with other families, because like you said, you can't do it all yourself. You have to make connections. We leaned on friends and family a ton during that time, because you couldn't. There was absolutely no way I could get all four kids to their destinations, whether it be school or an activity, and work, and it just wasn't possible. So yeah, really, make those connections, rely on friends and family. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And the list, but list, like, and two, just enjoy the time, you spend, especially if your kids are in sports. All three of our boys played hockey, and then our daughter did all sorts of different activities, whether it was violin or gymnastics and softball, and more theater as she got into middle school and high school. Color guard.
Basically
and
professional at it now. It's unbelievable.
But you can't do it all alone. But enjoy the moments. You spend a ton of time in the car, especially as hockey parents. Tons of time traveling, but enjoy the moment. Be goofy. Have conversations with your kids.
Yeah, one of my favorite pictures of the kids was we were actually at an apple orchard, which was on the side of a mountain, and we're coming down. I just let go of the gas and let gravity take over, and we ended up, we knew there was a couple of bumps, so this one decides to go, woo! And the four kids just copied her, and as they did it, she snapped their picture, and she had it perfectly centered. All four kids looked like they're on a roller coaster, and they all remember it. It was one of the funniest things ever. And that was just us driving around, because we actually had an afternoon where it was to ourselves, so we decided let's go apple picking, which when all four kids got to pick their own apples, you're spending $50 freaking on apples.
You're making a lot of apple desserts.
A lot of apple desserts and pies,
a lot of apple desserts.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend letting them each have their own full bag.
We gotta learn that time.
Yeah, we never did that again, did we?
No,
but yeah,
I don't think so.
Just that's like I said, my favorite picture of our kids is coming down that silly hill.
That was so much fun.
And then they were so little, they were so cute. But
lots of memories in the car.
But when Jen says enjoy the moment, she's not kidding, because you never know if it's going to be the last time. You don't know if it's going to be the last time you take your kid to hockey. You don't know if it's going to be the last time you pick your kid up, put them on your shoulders. You don't know if it's going to be the last time that you play with them a certain way. Just enjoy it while you got it, because and the thing is, I enjoyed every stage of my kids. I really did, because as they start to learn, and they're little and they depend on you for everything, and you're trying to teach them so they become self-sufficient and everything else, and then as they get older and you see they have some kind of issue, and you want to do it for them, but you just let them figure it out. You let them hack away at it. It's that kind of stuff. That's the good stuff right there. That's what I love the most about it.
Yeah, But yeah, I mean, divide and conquer, enjoy the moment. Because it just goes by so fast. Communicate with each other, with your kids, make sure that they're in the know, they know what's going on. Because I think that's going to help them too later in life. If you try to do everything for them and plan everything, they're not going to learn to become self-sufficient.
Right.
And I think we really instilled that at an early age, especially with all their different activities. I mean, nowadays, like, it was kind of nice in high school, we could add their team calendar to my Google Calendar. So if there was an update, it automatically updated. I don't have to worry about it. But when our kids were little, we didn't have the technology that we have now. So, each kid was responsible for knowing when they had practice, when they had a game, where the game was.
Packing their own bag.
But even school activities, if they had a report due, if they had an event at school, they had to make sure that they communicated that to us. And if something changed or there was something that they needed for whatever, they had to communicate that to us. I see a lot, parents just try to do everything. You can't. You have to give them that responsibility. And honestly, the earlier age that you can do it, the better.
Better off.
Because they're going to become more self-sufficient adults. They're gonna know that responsibility. And especially, as they get into high school, you want them to kind of start to spread their wings a little bit.
I mean, it's not saying that it was always perfect all the time, because I remember being at a baseball practice for my son. He had the game the next day, and he decides to tell me that, Dad, I have a project due in 2 days that I haven't started yet. Why are you telling me this now? And I was the coach. I was one of the coaches. So she was here. She came to, I think she was picking up one because I had picked up one on my way to practice who didn't need to be at the practice. So she came to grab that one so they can head home. And he's telling me that he has a major project due in 2 days. Hadn't started it at all. But not to worry, he's going to do it after baseball practice. Well, we didn't get home from baseball practice till 8:30, which was just about his bedtime anyway. I sent him home, and he screaming, yelling, upset. I said, well, if you don't do it tonight, you're going to do it tomorrow. Would you rather miss practice or miss a game? So there were consequences.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was 10 or 12, somewhere in there. But I was like, I'm not doing your assignment for you. And you're not half-assing it, so go home. If you want to play tomorrow, you got to go home. So he went home begrudgingly, very upset. But when I got home that night, because after his practice, I had to meet somebody real quick, and then I got home. Was almost 10 o'clock. And he was at the dining room table working on his project about 75% of the way through it. So I sat with him for a half hour. We talked about it. He actually was able to just about complete it. He finished it the next day after school before his game, so it actually did get done. He did probably one of the best projects he had done. But the night that I sent him home from his practice, where he was screaming at me and basically told me to F myself, when I got home and he's sitting there in his pajamas doing his project, he said, "Thank you, Dad." He actually thanked me. He's like, "There's no way I could have done this in one day." He's like, "Thank you." And I thought that was a big deal. He was little, so it kind of felt good. I felt horrible sending him home, but I wasn't putting up with it. So yeah, there were, and that's just one example of it wasn't always perfect. A kid would, is your hockey bag good to go? Yep, you get to the rink, there's one freaking skate in there. So you gotta figure out how to get all the way home to go get his stupid skate, which is hanging in the garage, to come back. So
no, it's definitely not perfect. No planning and communicating helps you to get through it. I don't really get through it, but helps you to just
handle it more smoothly.
Manage it, yeah. But
I mean, we make jokes all the time that we're the hot mess express.
Oh, completely.
But if you can avoid it, like by making a quick list the day before.
No. And again, nothing. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but if you're putting some planning into it and making sure that everybody's communicated to, then you have the ability to enjoy those moments more, because they go by so fast.
Because you're not stressed out.
Yeah. So yeah, divide and conquer, communicate, ask for help, loop in friends and family when you need it. you can't do it all on your own. Yeah. No. So.
And for us, I mean, the big thing was, no matter what day it was, what day of the week, where we're starting, where we're finishing, we made a concerted effort to end up at the dinner table together, the six of us. Some nights the dinner table was at the hockey rink, or it was at the ball field. We'd go get one of those ginormous subs. We'd all eat together before the player went out in the field. That was pretty common. That's the same thing at the hockey rink.
Picnic dinners were very common, especially during baseball season. Yep.
But then we'd have, the dinners where we would just eat at the rink, or we'd eat on the fly, but we'd try to do it together. Our dinner table became very sacred to us and to the kids, to the point that when the kids were older and they were all doing their own thing and not even all living in the same house anymore, because now this one's here, that when we did meal and we sat at the table, we'd sit there for hours, telling each other stupid stories, being completely inappropriate. If you know us and our four, the six of us together are not made for public consumption. We're not made for a classy group. We're raw. we are who we are. I don't get embarrassed hardly ever. It takes a lot to get me to blush, but there's more often than not when my kids are at the dinner table, I need to plug my ears. I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe you're telling me this. Why are you telling me this? So again, the dinner table became very sacred. We play games. We do game nights. There would be times we'd be sitting at the table 2 hours after we finished a meal.
Yep.
And every half hour or so, I'd clear the plates, let everybody keep talking. I clear the plate, then I come back, be like, oh, time to put the food away. Go in the kitchen, put the food away, come back, they're still there. Oh, let's bust out a game. An hour later, we're playing Cards Against Humanity with teenagers. Holy crap. Like I said, we're inappropriate, but it just became something that kids knew that was where we all...
The dinner table is where we connected.
There was no arguing at the dinner table. There were no phones at the dinner table. Actually, if I could hear your phone, I was going to throw it out the window. We didn't want to be interrupted at the dinner table. We had somebody who showed up every day around the same time. We finally told them, like, knock this off. You're messing with our family. That's enough of this. I know you think you have a reason to be here. I'm telling you to stop showing up at this time. So it was...
Yeah, enjoy the time that you have as a unit, as a family unit together. Put your phones away and just enjoy. But oh my gosh, dinner table,
breakfast.
No matter where we were,
If we make a big breakfast or something, or even when we go home now because we moved, we're at a different state, we'll go home, we'll go to a Verbo, an Airbnb, and tell them, hey, come over for breakfast.
Yep.
And we'll make a huge spread like we always did with pancakes and eggs and sausage and bacon and cinnamon rolls and hash browns and and fruit and everything else.
There's nothing left.
And then there's nothing to save. Like they'll demolish 5 pounds of bacon, 2 loaves of bread. Like, it's psychotic. But it's still one of those things they know if we get together, we're having a meal. Now it's a lot more expensive when we go see them and we go out, but it becomes the same thing. I feel bad for the servers because we'll sit there for 2 hours.
For a while.
It's to the point where I say, all right, we got to go. Like, this person needs to flip this table and make some more money. And you feel bad for them, but
around the dinner table is definitely where it all came together. So, enjoy the time and the craziness.
The craziness is a part of it. It's part of the deal. It's not supposed to be calm. You're not supposed to do everything perfectly. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna skip something. I'm sure somewhere in there I missed a baseball practice or a hockey practice. It's fine. I remember going to bring my son to a hockey game, and we walk in, and he's supposed to be on the ice in 5 minutes. In my head, I had changed the time by half an hour. And then when he walks into the locker room, the coach asked what happened. He threw me completely under a bus. He's like, oh, it was totally my dad. And he basically bitched me out while he's trying to hurry up and put his gear on 3 minutes before he gets on the ice. All the dads are helping. All the coaches were in there were helping him. You're not going to be perfect. It is what it is. So just do the best you can.
Totally.
Like I said, for us to finish, the final thought is, no matter how hectic it was for us, we wanted the kids to know that the reason it was hectic is because we were doing it as a family and we're doing it for them, so they can play their sport. Not just play their sport, but learn something, become a better teammate, become a better person. As long as what they were doing led to some sort of development, I was all for it. I wasn't going to, I'm not going to drive you to the arcade so you can dick around for 3 hours, but you have something productive to do. You're on a team, you have a school event, you're going to play. That's great. That's all stuff that helps you grow and just be become a more well-rounded person, and that's all we wanted for them in the end. That's why we started giving them chores when they were little, just because once you become competent and taking care of yourself, that's where self-esteem comes from. Self-esteem doesn't come from somebody blowing smoke up your butt your whole life telling you how perfect you are. Self-esteem comes from being competent at things. And now we have 4 kids that, sometimes we have to tap down the ego, but they know what they're good at.
They're self-sufficient.
They go for what they want. I think sometimes I'm with at least 1, if not 2 of our kids, I tell them, stop, slow down, you're doing too much, you're going to get sick. And then, towards the end of their semester, full-blown flu because they're doing too much, which, I mean, I get it, in your head you have all these things you want to accomplish.
We've all been there.
And people say, oh my God, good for you, like they learned that work ethic from you. No, they didn't. I was never like that. I wasn't a work to make myself sick type of person, but we just wanted our kids to know we had their back, we had each other's back, number 1. Number 2, we had theirs, and we were going to do whatever we could to make sure that their life was as fulfilling as possible. So, I mean, with that, we'll leave you guys. This Thanksgiving week. Whenever you listen to this, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy time with your friends. Be safe, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great one.